I want to talk to you today about feed your faith. You get to choose what grows in your life. What you're feeding is getting stronger. If you're feeding doubt, thinking about what you can't do and how the obstacles are too big and how you're at a disadvantage, because you're feeding it, that doubt is getting bigger. Just like you're giving it vitamins and nutrients, helping it to grow. If you're feeding fear, what if I get laid off? What if I come down with that illness? Or I'm afraid for my children. That fear is growing. You're helping it to become a reality. Sometimes we're feeding insecurity. I'm not attractive. I don't have a good personality. I'm not that talented. We wonder why we don't have much confidence and why we don't feel valuable. It's because we're feeding the wrong things. You've heard the saying, you are what you eat. It's the same thing in your mind. If you feed fear, you're going to live fearful. If you feed discouragement, nothing good's in my future, I have so many problems, you're going to live discouraged. If you feed the past, look what I've been through, they hurt me, I wasn't raised right. If you keep dwelling on what didn't work out, the mistakes you've made, even though God has beauty for the ashes, even though there are great things in your future, because you're feeding the past, you won't see it. You live bitter, in regrets, with no passion. Pay attention to what you're feeding. We all have doubt, fear, insecurity, guilt, but we also have faith, hope, confidence, value, victory. Don't feed things you don't want to grow. You have to starve your doubts and feed your faith. Starve the discouragement and feed your hope. Starve the inferiority and feed your confidence. You'll be amazed at what happens if you'll quit giving life to the negative and start feeding the positive. The scripture says the enemy goes around as a roaring lion. He has this loud roar, these threats trying to intimidate, bring fear, and cause us to shrink back. But if you take a lion, a big, strong, healthy animal, has these incredible muscles, can run fast and chase down its prey, jump and attack, has this powerful roar, this growl that strikes fear. It's called the king of the jungle. He rules wherever he goes. But if you were to quit feeding that lion, you didn't give him any food for a week, his growl is not going to be near what it was. In 2 weeks, he's not going to have the strength, the energy to attack like he used to. In a month, he's going to be so weak, so famished, he can't get up off the ground. We couldn't defeat a lion one-on-one when he's healthy. He's way too big and strong and powerful. But if you quit feeding him, it's a different story. He loses all of his power, his strength, his control. In the same way, fear, worry, doubt can seem too powerful. We can't defeat it. It's like it has the upper hand. But if you'll quit feeding it, if you'll quit dwelling on it, quit giving it attention, quit letting it play in your mind, little by little, it'll get weaker and weaker. You'll get to the point where it can't control you. And every time doubt comes saying nothing good is in your future, this sickness is going to be the end, your child is never going to get back on course, that's the roaring lion trying to deceive, manipulate, and limit. Now you get to make the choice. Am I going to feed this lion? When you dwell on it, it's like you're giving him food, making the doubt stronger, the fear, the discouragement. Do yourself a favor, start starving those things. They lose all their power when you quit feeding them. Instead of feeding your fears, take that same energy and feed your hope, feed your faith, feed confidence, feed courage, feed value. I get up every morning and say, Father, thank you that this is going to be a great day. Thank you that your favor surrounds me like a shield. Thank you that I'm anointed, equipped, and empowered, that you've armed me with strength for every battle. That's not just being positive, that's feeding my faith. That's feeding my hope. What you're feeding is growing. I've found that fear can't stay where faith lives. Doubt can't stay where hope lives. Defeat can't stay where victory lives. I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. But I'm putting you on a very strict diet. No more worry, no more doubt, no more insecurity. offense, bitterness, self-pity, shame, regrets. Your new diet is restricted to faith food. Feed your faith, feed your hope, feed peace, feed joy, feed positive expectations, feed the promises God put in your heart, feed the dreams He's placed in your spirit. You're going to become what you're feeding: positive, hopeful, confident, secure, valuable, or negative, worried, doubtful, afraid, inferior. I can be around a person 20 minutes and tell what they've been feeding by what they're saying, their attitude, how they respond to pressure, how they handle adversity. Joel, just my luck. Seems like trouble follows me around. I always have these disappointments. They're feeding discouragement. Another person, same circumstances. I know what was meant for harm, God's turning to my advantage. I'm gonna come out better than I was before. They're feeding faith. I never get any good breaks. People at work don't appreciate me. I'm always overlooked. Another person, same situation. Something good is going to happen to me. Blessings are chasing me down. The favor of God is on my life. I'll always be lonely. I don't think I'll ever meet anyone and fall in love. This is just my lot in life. They're feeding doubt. They are what they eat. They think single, they think lonely, they think unattractive, and they become that. Another person, same circumstance. The right person is headed my way. A divine connection, somebody better than I've imagined. They're feeding faith. They become attractive. They become favored. They draw in the goodness of God. Or how about this problem will never change? This sickness, this trouble at work, this wayward child, I'm always going to have to deal with it. They're feeding the negative. They become more discouraged. Another person, this trouble didn't come to stay, it came to pass. I know it's only temporary. A breakthrough is coming. Things are about to shift in my favor. They're feeding hope, feeding expectancy. That's what causes God to go to work. You become what you eat. If you're always feeding doubt, discouragement, I'm afraid I'm gonna get sick, this problem's never going to change, you are drawing in all the defeat, the struggle, the heartache. You need to get back on your diet. Quit eating junk food and start eating faith food. When doubt comes saying you'll always struggle, you'll always have difficulties paying your bills, no funds for your dreams, never get out of debt, just say no thanks, you're not on my diet. I only eat faith food. Father, thank you that you're supplying all of my needs. You said I would lend and not borrow, that my cup would run over, that I live under the open windows of heaven, blessings that I cannot contain. That's feeding your faith, not your doubts. That's what allows God to go to work. When fear comes, trying to get you to worry, what about your children? Are they safe in school? Or what about the crime? There's so much violence. What are you going to do? Don't feed that fear. It's not on your diet. Switch over into faith. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not fear. No weapon formed against me will prosper. 1,000 may fall at my side, 10,000 at my right hand, but it will not come near me. You keep doing that and fear is getting weaker and weaker, and your faith is getting stronger and stronger. You're becoming what you eat. You'll have a peace and a trust knowing that God has you in the palm of His hand.